Go. Hi everybody, welcome. We are fetching the video apparently. Let's see if she is. Alright. Hopefully we have a nice clear broadcast like usual as opposed to previous broadcasts. But thank you for joining us everybody. Welcome aboard. Max, Tim, Felicity, Wren, some of the people from the movie Pitch Perfect.
See what we did there?
Which we do not own the rights to.
Do you not own the rights? Go!
That we do own the rights to.
Gonna miss me everywhere. Miss me when I'm gone. It's interesting that I mentioned hair.
It's all this is going to be. Is just her singing and performing the entire 45-minute episode. But welcome everybody on the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Key change.
If you're watching this when it isn't live, thank you for tuning into the Facebook page. But hi everybody, we got Joe Bellew, Phil Parker, Joe Bellew.
Phil, I was talking about you the other day. We were talking to some Australian producers, and I was like, I know an Australian writer, so I'm going to make an intro.
Joe is also an Australian writer.
Oh, perfect. So. Let's make an intro. We're going to make an intro to these two producers we were speaking to, who are over in the States, and they're making friends, and they basically have some good connections back in Australia, so let's make that happen.
We'll make it happen. Well,
we
welcome
do not own the rights
everybody.
To Pitch Perfect, complete. That also a mixture of 90 times Cups, so Freedom 90, which is that amazing George Michael album, and then Cups, which is Pitch Perfect, I guess, the thing.
There you go. Phil, we started drinking coffee, which we don't usually do this late in the evening, and I have a feeling that might be why we're a little weird.
I'm always weird.
I mean, she's always weird. But she did have some sugar for the first time.
I haven't had any sugar for a bit, yeah. I've been trying to lose a few pounds.
Yeah.
Because I normally go to Sundance every year, and the stress of putting on the table event would always make me lose 7 pounds. Didn't go this year, so I sat at home and ate chocolate.
So she gained 7 pounds.
No, it's just like it's the ease of you. It's just what happens, isn't it, in life? You kind of like steadily go along, eating just a bit too much, and then you need a little kind of shot to the system to get it off again.
Yeah.
I like everything in life.
She's an inspiration.
Yeah.
As the title.
I honestly feel like the last thing in the world today, like an inspiration, the opposite.
You're my inspiration. Who sings that? Is that? I don't know. I'm not going to do it. It's World Malbec today, and today we're drinking a Syrah.
Today is National Malbec Day.
Oh, well, okay. National.
And Steel Wines actually does have a writer's block Malbec that you can purchase, and actually there are some we're drinking the Syrah, of course, because we're out of the Malbec. We've already drunk all of it.
Good old Bill Shakespeare.
But you can actually, there are 3 stores in downtown you can buy it, and in LA, and I was kind of amazed by how many places there were in LA you can actually go and get it in real life. I'm trying to find
there were like 2 or 3 downtown. There was one in Echo Park. There was one in Sherman Oaks.
Yeah, so Royal Liquors, Echo Park, Buzz Beer and Wines downtown, Weird Beers downtown, Santa Court Market downtown, Mission Wine and Spirits, multiple locations. But he sold the Malbec to the Sherman Oaks location in February.
So if you are eager at this very moment to avoid our broadcast and go buy some Malbec, you can find some Steel Wine Malbec. Writer's Block, specifically.
Specifically. If you want to join us, or not us, but if you want to join in National Malbec Day.
Yeah, National. So apparently only the Americans think of this as National Malbec Day.
Thank you, America.
Thank you, Steel Wines.
Thank
you,
Steel Wines.
God bless America.
Cheers.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good thing I like the Syrah.
Because we got another bottle of it.
We do. Ooh, tastes like wine.
Tastes like wine. It's fruity. It's so fruity. And we have another sponsor today, and that is the gorgeous, delicious, Oscar-worthy nominating...
Oscar qualifying. Holly Shorts.
HollyShorts.com. So Holly Shorts is an amazing festival. They are delicious. They're wonderful. They are Oscar qualifying.
And the actual festival is taking place at the Chinese theaters in Hollywood, August 8th through the 17th. The late deadline, if you have a short that you want to submit, is May 3rd. So it's coming up pretty quick. I would assume and hope anyway that you have the finished product.
But definitely worth entering because they have been named 7 times the top 50 fests worth the entry fee by Movie Maker magazine. So
featured over 400 projects, annually showcasing stars and filmmakers. Let me just see. So
they also gave over $100,000
Yeah.
in prizes from sponsors such as Kodak, the Camera Division, Panavision, Buffalo 8, Final Draft, and many more. That was in 2018. That's a lot.
Well, and the very
$100,000.
cool recent success story is the 2018 Grand Prize short winner of the Holly Shorts Film Fest called Skin was the Oscar winner for Best Short Live Action. So they have pretty good taste.
Yeah, they've got very good taste. So
And-
I think it's hard because that's what we're trying to do today. Is we're trying to help you sort out your log line, sort out your pitching.
Your pitch,
Actually choosing the right people to go to is actually part of the process.
I think one of the reasons why, because we've covered this at least one other time, possibly twice before, but I think one of the reasons why I want to cover it again is because it has such an all-encompassing coverage as far as what we end up talking about in terms of log lines and pitches, because it isn't as simple as just trying to write a little sentence about your project. You need to have every single story element down pat so that that log line makes sense and so that you can then pitch your project well enough. But just so I don't forget, I recorded a podcast interview with Daniel Soul, who is the festival director of Holly Shorts, about a week or so ago. So you can go to the ISA website.
Podcast page.
Yeah, you just click on the Curious About link, and then you can find that. It's one of the featured podcasts. Really, really cool episode. I was going to try to explain what it means to be Oscar qualifying and how to become Oscar qualifying. The really basic answer is there's an application process. It takes forever to be approved, and I think they
for the contest. This is not for you.
Right, for the Holly Shorts to be Oscar qualifying, but.
I think it also depends on their success and how many, their choice so far.
4 years in a row they applied for the qualifying, and
Right.
then they didn't get it. But then they had to build up their, kind of
Their archive.
reputation. And anyway, Holly
Well,
Shorts.
it's their 15th annual, so obviously they've been going for 15 years, so they're stuck around. They're worth applying to.
And if you're in Los Angeles, August 8th, then you should go to that festival. You can go and just watch these shorts and see what
8th and
everybody's doing.
17th.
Yeah.
And hopefully, Sundance, for me, the last few, in my personal opinion, I'm not saying that everyone would feel the same way, I haven't been that impressed recently, so writing a good short is really difficult, and then filming it. At least nowadays, you can film it for a lot less money than you used to, so that's exciting. We have a few other announcements, of course. Table Read My Screenplay, Hollywood Pitch Festival. Final deadline is May the 2nd. It's going to be an ISA Hollywood winner and a grand prize winner, so there'll be 2 people chosen to have their screenplays work through with the director and professional actors, and then you also get to go to the Hollywood Pitch Fest, and it's actually their 23rd year of the annual Pitch Fest, so that's kind of a great company. We really love them too. They've been very supportive to the ISA, so thank you so much, Hollywood Pitch Fest. And Table Read is a great contest, as we know. And then we have Emerging Screenwriters Genre Competition. The early deadline is April 18th, which is tomorrow. My father's birthday, although he lives in Australia, so it's already his birthday.
He's in the future.
He's in the future, but not that
Everybody
far.
in Australia is in the future. So, Emerging Screenwriters Genre Competition.
We've changed that, so you actually, it's a specific now to genre, so you're only in competition with other scripts.
There are 7
of
winners.
your genres. Yes, get $2,500 each. And then the grand prize winner gets gets an additional 7.5. So the grand prize winner will get 10.
It's cool. Oh, I see. That's cool. But what's nice is that you're not, if you wrote a horror, you're not then competing against the comedies. So it makes sense. They're dividing up each, obviously genre, so that every genre is then awarded a winner, and just ups your chances of being noticed. So
yeah,
dive in.
It's a really great contest. I love Emerging
Dive
Screenwriters.
in.
Some brilliant writers we found from there. 2. Okay, Third Thursday is happening tomorrow, April 18th. It's an important day tomorrow. My dad's birthday, Third Thursdays across the world.
Yes.
And in LA we
Third
are
Thursdays
doing
everywhere.
one in conjunction with the PGA, Producers Guild.
Producers Guild of America. So they're co-hosting, I guess you could say, the event, and we're not at the PGA necessarily. We're going to be at a different location, but you should go to the events page,
which is even better.
Yeah,
It's on waitlist now.
I was just going to say it's on waitlist, so you can't just drop in, sadly. But this is for the Los Angeles Third Thursdays, but we're all over the place.
Yeah, and there's like another 5 coming.
Yeah, we have new ones, even possibly one in my tiny little hometown of Wisconsin, which is really weird. It's going to cover basically the entire Midwest area, other than Cleveland, obviously.
What about Chicago? Oh, I thought
It's an
Scott's
hour north of Chicago.
All right.
It's about 45 minutes south of Milwaukee.
Oh, well, Scott's going to be part of it.
50 minutes south
One
of
our-
Madison. Yeah.
Our business manager, Scott. Sorry, that's Bella. She's just decided to go in the litter tray right now. If she's not
cleaning
here in
up.
front of the camera, she's
She's got to get noticed
gonna
somehow.
have to do a wee in the background.
Yep.
And then it's we have something to celebrate. Let's do a little cheers.
Cheers to something to celebrate.
2 years of Wine Wednesdays.
2 years of Wine Wednesday.
Woo!
Pretty wild. I think this is episode like number 62 or 3, so we're not quite at the 100th episode yet. And
That's quite a way from the 100th episode.
Well, I'm just saying, you would expect there would be like an episodic number to
But
be
it's
associated
2 years
with
of
the
us
2
been
years.
doing this.
But 2 years, man, it's pretty wild. We started in our little apartment in like that
Coruscant.
corner with nothing in the background. I was wearing a hat. we did not look good. Didn't have this cool fancy camera. Didn't have this fancy little setup with an extra bottle of whiskey back there. If you're not drinking, you can feel free to join us. If you don't drink,
That's
it's
absolutely
completely
fine.
up to you. We're not trying to egg anybody on. This is just for fun. We're not trying to promote this necessarily.
No, apart from we are saying if you are going to drink wine, then drink still wine.
Right.
And then
else we
yes,
have?
so I guess that's all the news, and then
That's
it's
everything. And then that's the topic.
Just, yeah,
So-
log lines and bitches.
How do we want to dive in? So
Well, have we got some questions? There's definitely some. I can't see.
we don't have any questions yet, although Mary Davis, who is always so active.
Love
Hello,
Mary.
Mary. She
Mary
said,
runs one of
this
the
is
Third
this is a
Thursdays.
good little comment to make. She said, more a tagline than a logline, which is important to note. How those Italian mama's boys grew up to be mama's men. So that is definitely a tagline and not a logline. Why?
Because it's a theme of the film.
There's no story.
Yeah.
We don't know how. What's the execution? What's the type of moment? That could be a horror movie. That could be a heavy English patient drama. It could be a wild romantic comedy. We don't know really all that much. That's the type
We know
of
it's
line.
in America because it's mama, rather than mummy, which would be English.
Possibly, but we're talking about mamas, Italian boys, etc.
Mama's Italian boy.
But that's something you would probably see on a poster that just kind of gives a feel, because then that tagline is associated with the image that we're seeing on the poster. If you're using something like that in a way to help sell your script, people are just going to give you blank stares. They'll be like, am I supposed to laugh or be, So
It depends if you do it with an Italian accent.
then I would assume maybe you're really good. You have a really good Italian accent. And you're like, whoa. You're like
Wow.
Robert De Niro. This is going to be
It's going to be
drama.
amazing.
But
Maybe
thank you
you
for
are
that,
Italian and a mama.
Mary. A big shout out, as always, to Courtney Rizzo, our social media expert, guru, all around amazing.
All around
shared-
amazing.
She
I'd
shared
just
all
like
the
to
links and information there on the
I'd just like to congratulate Courtney as well. She is in for contention for the Sundance
second
Labs.
round of the
Second round.
Sundance Labs for one of
Episodics.
her projects. So she is a talented writer.
She's a
just like
talented
everyone
writer
else.
too. She's not just a pretty face, and she's definitely one of those two.
Yeah. Now I feel a little bad. I guess we should give the little announcement, even though I didn't make it personally on my Facebook. But Mary said, didn't have Pippin and Bella. So I made a rash decision with Pippin. I loved that dog. He was wonderful. But I realized all in one day, a whole bunch of things started crashing down on me in terms of business and finance and personal stuff. And I realized I was not suited to be a dog owner. Not at this point anyway.
Not yet.
So it was a very difficult decision and sad that I had to bring Pippin back to the breeder. But I think overall, for the long term anyway, it's probably for the best. Pippin, it was absolutely not Pippin's fault. He was a great dog. But that's what the drama was last week. It was too bad.
Yeah, it was very sad, but in the end we made the best decision for the dog because we have started this production arm of the ISA, and we've had some amazing meetings this week, and it seems that there's some momentum happening with it, which is very exciting. And so we're going to have less time rather than more time for a dog.
And on an emotional level, I thought I was mentally prepared to take care of the dog, but the amount of time that you need to devote to an 8-week-old puppy is just...
He couldn't have any naps.
You can't.
Max couldn't do his naps.
Oh, man.
And he was very sad about that.
I shouldn't have brought it up. Shouldn't have said anything. People are just going to kill me over this. Everybody just thinks I'm a horrible person
Not more than
I'm a
they
dog
did.
lover, not a dog owner in this portion and timeline of my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best way to
Don't
say
worry, Max said that when he gets married and has a baby, he'll have one then.
Yeah, and then other members of my family comment on how I hope you don't give your baby away, which
Well,
didn't make me very happy. It's been a very emotional week. But
we still have Bella. She's not going anywhere.
Bella is like a dog, even though she doesn't really fetch.
She does play with the ball though.
She plays it on her own time, just like any other cat. Anyway, that's the news where that's concerned. We're not talking about log lines or pitches, but thank you to Mary for putting that comment in there. Let's see here. So, Mary is commenting here now. I'm assuming she's referencing her tagline, but think it will work for crowdfunding promotions. I think, Mary, it's an added little touch that can't hurt, but for it to be like in a prominent position as if that's what's going to get somebody's attention, probably not.
What about our Christmas script? Our Christmas script says you can't change the past,
but you can change the way you see it.
but you can change the way you see it.
Total tagline, and that's something that we included in the lookbook, just as one of the pages that then was associated with the logline. So above the logline in larger letters is that tagline, just to get a sense of, okay, here's a little bit of meaning, maybe some kind of theme we're going to get, and then you actually read the logline, which is the story.
And I have to say that this script is Susan Turley's script, and we have just been helping her write it.
Right.
But it's our Christmas script that is optioned by a creative screenwriter, and we're extremely pleased with it.
Yeah. 6 months of work.
Yeah,
of
and that tagline, I think, there was quite a lot of time when we were going back to the story and working out the rules of the world and the kind of motivation of the characters, and we would come back to that tagline a lot and make sure that we were serving it.
Yeah. So we'll get back to the Christmas script in a second, but Mary, I'm not saying that you shouldn't use that tagline. I think it's a really fun tagline, but it all depends on, like, if you're using Kickstarter or GoFundMe or etc. Where that's going to be shown, and if it's the only thing people are reading, it may make them think, I don't know. Okay, I guess it's a short. Okay, I get. It depends on where you're using the tagline. I think is really the prominent answer. And
I guess how you use it, because if you're doing a live pitch, then you can get much more across with it.
Right.
When it's just written down, it's context really. But I mean, I think what Max is saying is it's very punchy, and you kind of
it's fun.
It's fun, and you get into it, and you can kind of imagine it. Like I'm doing the hands as we speak. You can't see this if you're listening to the podcast, but I am doing Italian hands right now. It's a technical term. Technical Italian hands term.
Joe Bellew, thank you. I'm about to cry, but you're a very good man, Max. Selfless. Thank you. I don't know. I didn't feel very selfless.
I think but what you did is you chose the best route for the dog. I mean, like you could
and
have had
me,
him.
I have to admit
It was for
that.
both of you.
It was for both. I mean, it was
I mean, it meant I didn't like him being put in puppy jail, but
I was crate training the dog. This is what you do for crate training. He was in for 2 hours, out for an hour.
I know.
For 2 hours, out for an hour.
and it's just because in the UK we don't do that. Also, I haven't had a puppy.
It helps with house training. He was taking to his name. He was listening to me. He was starting to learn
a lot of
words.
fun.
He's great. He's a really great dog. One of the big troubles with him was that because he was so small, he wasn't taking to a leash, and our backyard is full of just these tiny little pebbles. So he just looked at the yard like, oh my God, it's a giant food bowl. Like he would just start eating all the pebbles. So had it been a dog that was like, cool, a leash, let's go for a walk, it probably would have been a little bit easier, because then it's just, I'm getting the dog, tired and worked out, but
His legs were this long. We used to run him up
tiny
and down the
little
front
dog.
room.
So you really had to spend that full hour with him doing nothing but that. And when he had to go to the bathroom, I had to watch him to make sure where he was going to go, because he wasn't house trained. And then when I saw he was about to go, I had to pick him up and run him outside, because I couldn't put him down in the grass, or not the grass, in the gravel, and then put him in a little spot to make sure he. So it was a lot more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Which I feel bad about, but
Don't feel bad. It's a good thing. Pippy Pips is going to have a very happy life with someone, because he's a smart little dog and he's very cute. Yeah. He's already got a corgi wobble. He's got a little waddle.
No, he's going to be a great dog, man. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. So, Shayna Weber Band, Diane Lansing, welcome everybody.
Hello. Thank you for coming.
Diane, I hope you're feeling better. Diane had some back trouble. Hopefully you're good to go and you can make it to the party tomorrow night. Diane is not only a story farm writer with me, but she also has an option script with us.
Yes, she does. Wonder and Lightning.
It's called Wonder and Lightning. So maybe we'll do that a little bit, because this production arm that we have, it's still up and running. I mean, we're 8 months in, I should say. We're still in the mode of getting it up and running. But we have 6 projects optioned. A couple others that we have under just like a shopping agreement where we're kind of getting the feelers out about it. We've done a lot of development work on the projects that we specifically have optioned, other than one that we recently picked up that we feel like this is just good to go. It's a horror, well, supernatural thriller.
But then we're still producing a lookbook for it.
Still
so there is still
lookbooks.
work to be done.
Yeah.
To
So
put
the
the package
lookbook
together.
is part of the pitch. It's a very big part of the pitch.
Well, especially nowadays when no one wants to read anything.
It's so much easier. And then we created a sizzle, I should say Felicity and her ISA side. I really had nothing to do with creating that sizzle. But for one of the scripts called Finding Distance, which is kind of like a Karate Kid meets the fencing world for a YA audience. And they created this highly produced, really well done 2.5, 3 minute sizzle.
Proof of concept,
Proof
sizzle.
of concept. And people are, they watch this little video, they're like, yeah, of course I'll read the script. Because A, it looks really good and professional, but it also tells the story and for what they can expect to when they read the script. So it's a huge selling tool. And then everybody with the lookbooks, people can just open that up once they open the email. It's so much less in terms of their
Instead of having to sit down
investment.
and think I've got 90 pages to read
or
110
more.
pages.
Yeah.
It's just I've got 10 pages to read where at least 5 of those pages are pictures.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to
Right.
say, but it definitely helps. And you can get across the tone, character ideas and inspiration, the plot summary, a log line, a tagline, inspiration, and a little bit of history about the writer or why the story was written. And it's just, it's all there for them.
Right.
It's kind of a...
Maybe that's good that we should probably list that. And for instance, the Wonder and Lightning lookbook was done by Courtney Rizzo, our social media manager, and she did a really great job. And I'm realizing now, Diane, I don't know if we sent you the lookbook, which I feel terrible about. We just recently sent. You'll really like it. The primary image is great in terms of probably what you had in mind in terms of some of what your brainstorming was for Wonder. But we'll send you that. But the point of a lookbook is obviously to get somebody's attention.
Yep.
To present the feel, just the tone, how heavy, what's kind of the lighting scheme, even though you're not really a director presenting that stuff, but color has a huge impact.
Definitely the choice of the palette makes a big difference.
Huge difference. But then the images that you're choosing too, because obviously you don't have production stills or anything to use. So this is not a document that you're outright selling, so you can use pretty much any image that you have found on internet. So you start putting those images together, but the usual approach, at least our template for the lookbook, is what? You've got the cover page with the title and the name of the writer, some kind of cool, catchy image.
Yeah.
The next page is basic logline. In our Christmas script lookbook is tagline and logline, with a relatively nondescript image because we want people to focus on the logline. After that,
it's a proper synopsis of the...
It's the actual synopsis of the project. Probably 2 pages of the lookbook, depending on how big the font is, etc.
But the main story, what the arc, why we should
Tell
care.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a treatment. It's not a beat by beat kind of thing. But it is basically a 3-paragraph format because the first paragraph will be a little shorter. You've got the first act summarized in that first paragraph. Second paragraph's a little bit longer. Obviously, you don't have to divvy it out exactly in only 3 paragraphs, but that's what you're looking at. 3-act structure, 3 paragraphs, summarize each act. After that, you start getting into character breakdown,
who the person is, kind of casting suggestions in your perfect world.
I was going to look at the lookbook.
I kind of wonder how many Meryl Streeps there are in people's lookbooks across the
right.
country.
So it's character breakdown. Obviously, it's a short description of who this character is, flaws, personality, what this person wants, what she doesn't have, just to get a general sense. But it's also with a little bit of a nod to if an actor were to read this, they'll get a sense of who the character is in terms of how they're supposed to act this.
And I think that also gives you a chance there to kind of talk about diversity. You can talk about inclusivity. The kind of not talk about. You can show that in your casting options.
Right. So those pictures you're going to choose for the characters are going to be examples of actors that could play the role. It's not who you expect to play the role. because of course
it's the type.
Yeah, it's the type, a Meryl Streep type for one of the roles in another one of the lookbooks that we have. If we got Meryl Streep, it's not like we'd say no. That would be amazing.
I mean,
but it's also.
I think I would combust on the spot. I would
if
burst
she
into flames.
read it, I'd be like, somebody read the script, everything. But you know, anyways.
I'm a big fan, is what I'm saying.
I think everybody's pretty much a big fan. But also to the note of diversity, the Christmas script especially. It reads pretty white, because there isn't necessarily a reference to skin color or diversity. It's just there
isn't any reference to it,
other than two characters that we have said in the script that are this. But for the lead character, then we show, white, Latina, and African American, or you give all the options so that anybody reading this, because what we're doing with the lookbook is intending to co-produce this with somebody, or to raise financing from someone who is maybe actively involved in the actual production, so that they get a sense of, oh, cool, that's actually a pretty good idea to put Viola Davis in the role as opposed to Meryl Streep. And it becomes, something a little elevated or something. So it allows you to show the options.
Yeah, and say that you're not tied down to anything. It's not, I guess if you're casting an Aryan character from the Second World War, then they'd have to be blonde and blue-eyed, you know what I mean?
Right.
We're not.
Yeah. But then also, so aside from the characters, and it's probably the 3, 4, maybe 5 primary characters in the project.
You don't want to do too many.
I wouldn't go any more than 5. But then also we have a reference to theme, which could be both general pictures that are presenting a feel for the project.
And the tone.
And the tone. Like for our Christmas script, we have pictures of, a mother-daughter, some Christmas trees, a pretty little Christmas town. But there's an ethereal feel to all the pictures because there is somewhat of a magical thing going on. But then we also have a location page. For Wonder and Lightning, Malibu is the primary location. We didn't need to really add a description. People know what Malibu is. You show some pictures, people surfing, etc. You get the picture.
But Trip is set in New Orleans, which is another one of our scripts, and so it's really integral that the city is part of the screen of the film.
Right.
So we made sure that we had plenty of pictures of New Orleans in there.
And I think with Trip, which is about clinical trials of psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms to help cancer patients kind of transition, that description of the location is also in terms of I think we named it something like something about current, or let me see what I named this. What did we call it? Too bad we can't just show this to everybody because it's worth showing.
It's beautiful. Very happy with it.
Oh, I think we just called it. Oh, I see. We had a story page. Wait, no, where's the... Oh, it's the last page, I believe. Inspiration and audience is when we then added more specifics about the real life stuff going on with this particular project. If yours has some kind of current...
Or based on a true story.
Yeah.
And I think also, if it is very like another movie, it's, your comps, it's kind of good to put those in, and, and why it was important to you as a writer to write the piece, that all that stuff really adds to it.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the sales pitch, which, I've always said this before, but I believe life is sales.
It's the salesmen that make a difference. What is that line from The Graduate? It's the salesmen that make a living or something. It's the famous line that my old boss that I didn't like would always say to me jokingly, and I'm like, no, I think you actually mean this. But
it is. I feel like sales. I feel like relationships is sales. I think getting a job is sales. Keeping a job is sales. It's
what a pitch in the long run is.
Yeah, we're all just selling things to each other, and I don't mean that in a horrible way. We're just presenting our best foot forward, hopefully.
Right. And then not necessarily the last page. Well, the last page of the lookbook should always be your contact page. Don't forget to put your information there. If you have producers attached, you should have the producers on, emails, phone numbers if you want them, any website reference to the script. But another important page is either reference or comps. So for Trip, for example, we have The Big Sick, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, the movie 50-50, and then Fault in Our Stars. Those movies are a lot like what we're trying to do in terms of not only the content, but the feel for it. All those movies have somewhat of a comedic tone to them, but they're also really serious. I had initially put up really serious movies as the
Yeah.
comps, like August Osage County, I think I had up there for our first draft, and then there were a couple others that were really heavy, and the writer was like, yeah, it's not really
Yeah.
what we're trying to
What
do.
script are you reading?
Yeah. So anyway, lookbooks, they're important. And the how the lookbook looks is essential.
How the lookbook looks.
How the
and
lookbook looks. And by that
If
I
a
mean,
lookbook could lookbook.
by that I mean the level of professionalism. If you don't know Photoshop, if you're not very good at putting that together, don't even bother. Find somebody who knows what they're doing, because the first thing someone's going to notice is the professional quality of the lookbook. And if it is not professional, or it doesn't look professional, it's just going to taint everything else, and almost doesn't even matter what the content is.
No. I mean, again, we're lucky in the fact that we now have the equipment and the computers to build something beautiful.
And to amazing women who can do Photoshop like magic and put these things together.
But it is, again, it's the investment in your project. I mean, you hope if this gets made that you're going to make a lot more than the cost of getting someone to professionally do your lookbook for you.
Yeah.
I wonder if Courtney's going to start a side business.
She probably already has, we just don't know about it.
Go, Courtney.
Anthony McBride, are one-page leave-behinds still relevant? I don't really know if they ever were.
Oh, I don't know. I think they are. I mean, I feel like...
It depends on what's on it. If it's a full written all-word summary, probably not. If
I don't
it's
know. I mean,
content,
I feel like we have a production company that we've worked for, and we've actually did they did oh my God, what's the word? They did, when we went to Spokane.
yeah, the writers' conference.
The writers' conference, that's the one. God damn it. Anyway, they are repped by Gersh, and for Gersh, they have a book of all the scripts that they have, because they get novels and screenplays, and they have one sheets for all of them.
Okay.
And to get it to Gersh, for Gersh to then put together to package, it's a good shortcut. I also think anything that means that you have worked out your script down to one page, that's good. If it's practice, if it's kind of like a way of getting to
everybody should have a one-page, one-sheet, one-page summary for their project.
Yeah.
In terms of a leave behind, it's completely dependent and relative to the situation.
Yeah.
If you just met somebody at a party and you kind of pitch the project and they're like, cool, it sounds like something interesting, don't shove the one page in front of them. They're sitting at the party and they're drinking, and that's not the right time to do that. If you have a scheduled meeting and you go in and pitch a project with somebody, ask them if they would like the one page. Don't just go, here you go. Because they may not need it or feel like they want it, or it all depends on how the pitch goes. Wait until the end and just feel it out and just say, yeah, I've got a one page if I want to leave this with you, just you can make a little joke about it, just so you
as
don't
a
forget
reminder.
about it.
Yeah.
It completely depends on the situation.
But I think it's okay to write one. And to be honest with you, you can then incorporate that one page into your big lookbook. It also depends where you are with the project.
Yeah.
If you're really trying to get it out there and you have people that you are getting the project to, I feel like it's worth spending your time putting this piece of the puzzle together nowadays.
Oh, I think it's everybody has a shorter attention span every single year. I'm worried like what's going to happen 20 years from now. People are going to need instant delivery of product, which we almost have anyway.
Courtney has got a little side business. Craig suggested I make a page for my lookbook services, so the info's on our ISA site under products. So go have a look there.
Nice.
Or you can directly email Courtney at courtney@networkisa.org.
If you want a lookbook done, you can go to Courtney, but Courtney, be careful. You might get about 25 emails. And, can you do this? And suddenly Courtney won't be able to do her social media for the ISA.
And she will have to charge for them. They aren't free.
Of course. Yeah.
So.
Really good question with Kim. So Kim Elizabeth says, how do you let them know the email contains a proof of concept and lookbook? How do you introduce or query something like that?
I don't know.
Well, first of all, Kim, the easy answer is you just say in the email, I have a lookbook or a sizzle. But in terms of querying, it's a really good question. So this is part of your pitch process. It's part of the logline process, it's part of all of it. If it's a cold query and you have zero contact, the person doesn't know who you are at all, it's a really simple email just asking if you would be willing to take a look at my material. Don't include anything, don't attach anything, Don't put a link in there. If there's a link, some studio email servers will not even allow the thing to come through if it's coming from an unknown source.
It's just because they don't want to
Spam,
get sued
all this stuff.
later.
So it's a really simple email, and you can reference in that email any type of accolades that you have. You can
say boast about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I helped one of my writers, the Story Farm, query a bunch of managers a few months ago, and she had a couple movies that were produced of scripts that she wrote, and then she was on the ISA's top 25. She placed highly in a couple contests, and so she mentioned that. She said, "Hey, I'm reaching out. I'm a female writer looking for representation. I have had this in terms of accolades. Would you consider looking at my material? I'm this type of writer. I'm writing in the supernatural horror space or something." And that's all it is. And then if they don't respond, then they don't respond. If they do, it's probably going to be, "Sure, I'll take a look at your material." Then you can put together a really easy to read email without any summaries and big block text. Here's what I have. Looking forward to your thoughts. If I don't hear from you in 3 to 5 weeks, I'll follow up. And that's all it is. So the initial email, if it's cold query, it's just curious if you'd be willing to look at my material. I have mentioned this, I think, on previous broadcasts, that if you notice that a manager's roster does not have a lot
Someone
of clients like you, mention that. Absolutely, especially in today's day and age, which I think is silly. I've noticed some rosters on IMDb Pro of some managers where it's like all white men. I'm like, dude, good luck making any money. So if I were a female, regardless of age or race or anything, I would say, look, you have one female in your roster. I'm wondering if you're trying to fill that a little bit more. Here's what I have done, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one way to go about it.
So would you say putting your log lines in for your blog, what would you say to put in that in the email that you're replying back to? So you'd include your lookbooks and log line, or what would you say?
So if they say, "Sure, I'd be happy to take a look at what you have," it would be a simple reply of, "Great, thank you so much. Here are the log lines of my projects," and just list them, in a very ordered, organized way. Title, genre. You don't need to write any type of explanation of where I think this could go. It's just bam. Let them read it really easy and quick. Really solid log line, however many projects that you have. I would still not necessarily, they'll probably request something specific. If they do, just send them that in terms of an attachment. They may come back with, you need to sign some form of
NDA.
Release or NDA or something. That's very normal, and they're usually really easy to figure out. You probably don't need to hire a lawyer to have take a look at them. Once you do submit the projects, it's very business form letter type. Here's what I have attached.
And then would you attach the scripts?
So
you do the log lines and then
it depends on what the response is. If they say, "Sure, I'd be happy to take a look at what you have," don't send them all 8 of your projects.
Yeah.
Just here are the 2 projects that have done well in contests, log lines, etc. If you'd like to read more of what I have, I'm happy to send it over, but we'll start with this. The last thing you want to do is overwhelm them. The last thing you want to do is make it seem like you're unprofessional. Don't sound needy at all. Technically speaking, you're the one who would be hiring them.
It's good to remember that. It's hard, but it's good to remember that.
And just because you get represented by a manager does not mean your career is going to take off. We know a lot of writers who have representation and they're still having trouble finding work. So it's just the beginning of the rest of your career.
And it's just another form of accolade.
Yeah.
It's another accolade.
Right.
But you are the one that has to keep writing. You're the one that has to keep coming up with the goods. And any work you can find yourself and any connections you can make will actually be more productive long term.
Yeah. Alyssa is asking, are we able to get access to a lookbook example? I'm going to talk to Craig and see if there is, I don't know if we want to just yet, but it would help to show some of our current projects' lookbooks on the website in some way, just as
There's
examples.
There's a one-talk one, isn't there, that we
The
really like.
Stranger
Stranger
Things
Things is great. The reason why that one, because most people have seen that and it's already on air and it doesn't matter, it's not hurting anybody. I would feel weird putting our lookbooks up when the projects aren't sold yet.
Yeah.
But the Montauk one is so amazing because it really gives you, it uses stills from features that you already know, which gives you the tone and the ideas behind it, and even how they put the ink on the pages is so amazing, and it looks like a book.
Yeah, it's artful. Yeah,
it really has. So I think we could maybe, I don't know if we could. Again, we probably can't put it on our site because they have copyright on it. But
yeah,
it is around town.
Probably won't be able to do any of that, but you could probably Google, either feature film lookbook or TV Bible examples. You might be able to find some on there. Let's see what we got here. There you go. Courtney says you can Google examples, or I can email you mine. So for Courtney, let's not send one in Lightning yet, but if you have other examples, you're obviously welcome to send those.
I like Courtney. Don't sound needy in any relationship. Trust me. I get it.
Trust me.
Even when I pick up the cat, she doesn't like it. If I'm going, I love you, I love you, I love you to my cat Bella, she's like, get off me. So I get it.
Welcome, EJ. Late is better than never. Let's see. Is anyone familiar with the books Save the Cat and or Television Writing from the Inside Out? Well, definitely Save the Cat. Blake Snyder he literally wrote the book on on the beats and writing and plotting out the beat organizing and outlining process. Television Writing from the Inside Out, I've heard of it. I think anything you can read in terms of references to how to put a TV pilot and series together is worthwhile, because it's not easy and there's a lot more work than just writing a feature.
And that's the thing, if someone likes your pilot, you have to have worked out the series, and you have to have an overarching theme for the whole 5 years that they hope it's going to be on air.
Yeah.
I think Save the Cat is amazing. To read all those books so you can break the rules, I think. You know what I mean? It's like...
Save the Cat is a really great book. In my opinion, it might be a little too simple and too formulaic.
Yeah, exactly. You read it to break the ruls, I think.
Read it to just get a basic understanding. It's definitely worth the read. But there's a book called... I don't remember the full title, but it has emotional structure in the title. I have it in my library somewhere. Probably an even better approach to structure, because it's not just looking at this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. Even with some twists and turns in there, you're looking at the why everything happens, connecting it to character, and that evolution of not only the arc, which you hear all the time, but presenting obstacles that are then affecting that character's flaw. So there's a beat structure to the flaw that is evolving. The flaw is either growing and the ego is getting bigger, or they're getting shot down, like 40-Year-Old Virgin, constantly that the flaw is getting hit in almost every single scene that Steve Carell is. Technically speaking, the flaw is that he's a 40-year-old virgin, but more specifically, he's an extremely nice, caring person who doesn't want to hurt anybody. Like, he's terrified of conflict. And so that makes it even worse. And every single experience he's put in is attacking the flaw. And so that's really what you mean by emotional structure. So it's more than just a beat by beat kind of thing. That's why I like talking about log lines and pitches, because we end up getting into this type of stuff. And really doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with log lines. But as far as log lines are concerned, the flaw is extremely important to reference, so that you understand what it is that main character has to overcome, and it isn't just some outside obstacle like, Alan Rickman in Die Hard. There's something else going on inside of the Bruce Willis character, where he needs to accept family, he needs to accept love, and there's this whole rift that's going on with his wife.
He needs to wear a white vest.
Right.
These are important things.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be mentioned in there. Bruce Willis will get his muscles out in this movie. No, but also with pitch, all these documents you're putting together are to help you to go into a room and pitch. Mm-hmm. So if you have your lookbook totally up to scratch, if you have your one page up to scratch, if you have your synopsis sorted, you've done all the thinking, so that if you are in a room, you already know the answers to the questions.
It reminded me of a funny story. One of my first jobs when I moved to Los Angeles was working for a distribution company, a tiny little distribution company, in this dumpy little building at near 3rd and La Cienega, kind of really close to the Beverly Center, if anybody lives in Los Angeles.
Dumpy building.
It was a dumpy building. It was a
dumpy as in fat, or dumpy as in rubbish?
Kind of rubbish.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a little out of shape.
Yeah, I was going to say, this building, give
could
this
have
building
worked
a
out
complex.
a little bit more. But across the hall was Dark Horse Entertainment, and they were just in the process of really getting kind of big. It was like the first Hellboy was coming out, I think, or it had just come out. And
are you aging yourself?
it was like 2007,
He is aging himself.
which wasn't that long ago, but nonetheless. Across the hall was Dark Horse Entertainment, and I made friends with the executive over there, and he was the only guy in the office, because I think their primary office was in New York or something. But his name was Chris, really great guy, and I loved going into his office because it was a pretty decent size office. It wasn't like a huge, window walled type of office or anything, but he just had, it was geek central in there. Like he had, statues and figurines of everything you can imagine. And the first time I walked in there, he was playing World of Warcraft, like he was in the middle of his workday. It was that kind of office. But he was telling me a story about how he was going to pitch one of their projects to a pretty big to Steven Spielberg's Amblin. He was going to Amblin, and he had this project, and he was sitting in the waiting room, and this guy comes in with like a full, I don't know if you know what the art
portfolio folder?
Art portfolio was like this huge art portfolio folder, and the other person's waiting to pitch as well. It was almost like this audition, and Chris just had some of his basic stuff, and he's looking at this folder like, oh my god, okay, and it's this other person's time to go pitch, and the door opens, and it's Steven Spielberg, like waiting for the guy to walk in, and he sees the guy holding this art portfolio, and he goes, "That's how you prepare for a pitch." And Chris was like, "Oh."
He's trying to smooth out his bits of crumpled paper.
He's got just some little papers. But that's a different situation because it's Steven Spielberg and Amblin, and you're obviously pitching something pretty huge. Put on a full presentation, and
come in a costume.
He was probably expecting this meeting. It wasn't a first time type of thing, but nonetheless, it was lesson learned.
Go as E.T.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going to Steven
Just walk
Spielberg?
in full E.T. garb, eat crawling.
That would be weird. Don't do that.
We're pitching Amistad, E.T. Oh Lord. Anyway, let's see what else we have here. Happy birthday, Mary. What? Just reminding my Cleveland folks, Mike Barrington. And we will have cupcakes for my birthday. There you go. Happy birthday, Mary Davis.
Mary. Yes, Mary is one of our Third Thursday hosts, and Shayna Weber Band is one of the people that puts together Third Thursday.
Mary Davis is the Cleveland runner of Third Thursdays.
Host extraordinaire.
And
Shayna is the person that you should be reaching out to if you want to put on a Third Thursday in your city.
Yes, if you want to host one, you can email Shayna Weber Band.
We're all here. All the gang's here.
And then Drew of Steel Wines. Thank you for joining us, Drew. And of course, thank you for this wonderful wine.
Yes, well, no, we did mention it earlier. I even put pink in my hair.
But he said it is actually worldwide. You've been calling it national.
Oh, it was what I got on my notes. I suddenly just flashed everybody my boobs as well.
Yeah,
Sorry, everyone.
Get a little action from time to time. All right, well, we've got maybe 5 minutes or so. If you guys have any questions about log lines and pitches, I'll try to do the basic rundown of a log line. Think of it as 3 different things. You've got a tagline type of log line, which really isn't a log line. It's just, it wasn't the house that was haunted. That's a little tagline. That's not a log line. But then there's a presentational log line, which is really short and concise. It's referencing the recurring moment, the type of moment you're expecting to experience in the second act. For Liar Liar, it's an absent father, compulsive lying lawyer who is unable to tell a lie for 24 hours during the biggest case of his career. Bam. You know what you're going to expect to see. You don't necessarily have to put all of the elements in there. Anybody who hears that goes, oh, I think I know what that movie is. The other type of logline is a developmental logline, which I have all of my writers through Story Farm go through, and it's pretty much a long run-on sentence, paragraph size, that you're putting all of the story elements in there as much as you possibly can, even from a structural sense. When this happens to this flawed character and is presented with this new opportunity, he goes up against this opponent who has a very specific motive, then this twist or complication occurs, that leads him to this, and then until, which is the last portion of the log line, which is kind of a reference to the low point. You lead the log line all the way to the ninth sequence, which is the end of the second act. It's a long paragraph. That's something that you wouldn't submit to contests, you wouldn't give it to a producer. This is for you to kind of test your idea to make sure that you have everything working. It's a really good tool to use at the outset of your brainstorming, because you realize, oh, I don't really have a solid flaw, or I don't know who my opponent is, or I don't know what the obstacle is that this person is going to experience in the second act. All this, it's like a little formula, if you will.
It's a test.
Yeah. So
it's a test for your story.
It's a test. So those are arguably the three different log lines, one of which is really a tagline. But the log line should be specific to what is experienced in the second act, not the setup in the first act. You never want a producer to ask, then what? Because the then what is the second act. That's your movie. So you have to get into the experience of the second act, which is technically, obviously, the conflict that this person goes up against with some form of an opponent, but it's also the dealings of that flaw, how that character's dealing with it. Yeah. Let's see.
And then a pitch is all that stuff that Max just said, and then you add you into the equation. You need to bring you, your heart, your soul, why you wrote it, all your homework, do the homework on the people you're meeting, find other things that they've done that are like the work you're doing, find connections that you have with them in random other spots about loving volleyball or something else, really investigate them.
The person listening to the pitch wants to like you just as much or more than your idea. If they really think you're fun or cool or hip, or if you got an interesting style or way about you, they're going to listen to the pitch knowing that about you. So you want to put yourself into it. And so that's why if you're in a meeting and you're taking a pitch or giving a pitch, try to make it as conversational as possible.
Sorry, I thought I had a spider on my toe. Something tickled me.
And I think that's how we end the broadcast. Now, I think everybody understands what it takes to, create a log line, deliver a pitch.
But I think it's don't forget about you. You're the most important person in all of this. So we talk a lot about finding your voice. So, the fact is that find your voice in the way that you tell the log line, and then find who you are and why that person wants to connect to you when you go in and pitch it. Right.
Yeah. Make it conversational. Try not to be nervous, even though you probably will be. But
you've done your homework. We've done all this other stuff.
Practice the hell out of the thing. Yeah. Just so you can just do it naturally, so it becomes a story you're telling, as opposed to, oh God, I have to sell my project. If it's a story, let me tell you a story. If you're just hanging out with your buddies around the campfire or something, suddenly you're not really worried about it. You're just having fun. That's where you want to be. You want to get into the fun of it. Those are all the questions. But thanks for joining us, everybody. Thank you to Drew.
Well done, Anthony, for being on page 45 of your new feature.
Keep going, Anthony. Yeah. Big shout out to Holly Shorts Film Festival. If you're going to be in town August 8th through the 17th in Los Angeles, you should go. If you have a short that you want to submit to them, they have a final deadline May
3rd.
I think it's May 3rd. You can go to hollyshorts.com and learn more. But
do that. Drink still wines. Enter emerging screenwriters at genre contest. If you want to go to the Hollywood Pitch Fest, then do Tell Read My Screenplay. Yeah. Become an ISA Connect member so you can listen. We can actually then read Shayna's articles and advice, because she's been getting those for the ISA Connect members.
My own are on there. Yeah. I have call packages. If you want to purchase a number of calls with me in the Story Farm, I can work with you directly.
And then there's Courtney and her lovely lookbook side
Hire
business.
Courtney.
So, not to make it all a sales thing at the end there, but these are all tools we hope to help you on your way.
In a way, Wine Wednesday is our pitch for you all to fall in love with the ISA. That's technically what we're doing here.
Yeah, and thank you and congratulations to us. Thank you to you for watching for 2 years, and thank you, Max,
Cheers,
for doing most of the talking for 2 years.
2 years.
And putting up with me while I mess about.
And feel spiders on your toes.
Yes. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Happy Wednesday.